right, welcome back into Indie B&B. Today we are joined by Nisa Lamage from Brooklyn of the band Nisa or the act Nisa. Nisa, how are we doing today?
Doing good, I can't complain. It was raining earlier today in Brooklyn, but it's no longer raining. I'm gonna go get Szechuan food later, so excited to be doing this today.
Awesome. Get a little Chinese, right? Szechuan's Chinese, right?
Yeah, it's like really spicy usually, or like most of the foods are traditionally really spicy. And I am not very good with like high spice, but I've been building my tolerance up. So every time I go eat Szechuan, it's like a test to see how I'm doing and like if I'm actually improving, and I think I'm doing pretty well.
Is there like an Olympics you're building towards there for like what's your end goal to get to like a point where you're like, hey, I confidently can go in and be like, I can take the mile no matter what, or
Exactly. I mean, I just want like I don't want someone to look at me and be like, "Are you sure?" I want it to appear off of my like I need to radiate the confidence that I can eat really spicy food. So, I just feel like I'm really competitive sometimes with myself, even just like needing to like reach certain goals. And for me this year is like, all right, I'm gonna eat foods I've been like avoiding for whatever reason. And with spice, it's always been like a challenge for me. There's this Korean place also nearby where I live that I really like called Little Dukebi, and they have a really good spicy burrito, but I can never finish it. And I think it's just my head. Like I think I'm in my head now. I always get to like three-fourths of the way of the burrito, and I'm like, okay, I need to give up. So that's maybe let's say that the finishing that burrito is my goal.
I love it. I
Great
love
goal.
it. Yeah, I mean, if I made my goal is to just finish food, I'd be crushing this year already.
Hey,
But
we're trying to
you know,
eat less food over here.
yeah, we're both on the no spicy food, chill out and eat something bland. Good Lord.
Yeah,
But
listen, it comes and goes in waves. Sometimes you just need to eat white rice and take a break.
yeah, well, I'll tell you what's not white rice. Your music. I mean, it's
Wow.
dynamic, and you know what? I think the spicy food analogy is perfect. I mean, you bring a lot of spice in the music. I mean, what got you into into this as a did you grow up making spicy food or making spicy music, or is it a something that you developed in college? Like, where did this all thing start?
Well, I love that analogy, and I think it's a good one because it kind of started really randomly for me almost. Like I'd been playing guitar since I was young. I grew up in New York and I moved to Manhattan when I was like 8 or 9, and my dad got a job in this building as the super, and as like a trade, this guy in our building who like basically had like all these vintage guitars. My dad was like doing some repairs for him, and I went up with him one day and I saw the guitars and I was like, "Oh, these are so cool." And he was like, I'll tell you what, like you can keep this for a day. And come back tomorrow and let me know what you think. And I think I took the guitar home and I looked up like smoke on the water tutorial or something, and learned how to play it, and I went back and I showed him and he was like, "Well, I'll give you a few lessons for like a discounted rate." And I ended up really loving it. And after that, I think I didn't end up writing music for 10 years maybe after that. I like was a freshman in college when I started performing again. But I was listening to music all the time and playing around with my friends, and playing in a couple of my friends' bands and like afraid to write my own music. And I think it really started for me in college. Like right around then, I started writing my own songs and sharing them. And then yeah, after that, like around junior year of college, I think I recorded my first EP, which was Guilt Trip, and just kept writing and recording and never really looked back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. With obviously that amount of gap of time, like did you in high school, did you just continue just practicing and honing the craft and learning other people's songs? Like what was the, that kind of gap? Where would you fill it with, getting into, starting bands and stuff?
Yeah, I had like a really funny like a band with my friends that we called Into Thin Air. Like one of us came up with it in high school and we were like, "Whoa, that's an amazing name." But we never really wrote much. We kind of like played Red Hot Chili Peppers songs and like really just were having fun with it. And I think I realized then that like this could be something really fun and exciting, and it could also be really meaningful for me. And in that gap, I think I kind of learned that like I found it to be more than a hobby. And I think like having fun with it initially was a good way for me to like understand that I didn't have to do it traditionally also. Because in that gap, I also didn't really take lessons. I kind of just continued to play on my own. And it was like maybe like in college when I realized that I probably needed to be practicing more, and that's when I really took more time. But I think it led to me like discovering new things too. Like I play guitar in a kind of strange way sometimes, and I think that that's because I maybe didn't have the most like classical upbringing. But yeah, I think that gap was important because it like brought me back to it in a really hardcore way. Like I really was like, okay, I need to now spend all the time I can learning all that I can and like experimenting.
What I was kind of looking at your Spotify profile and I read, how you basically didn't have like any kind of like music background, like even like listening to like, pop music or rock and roll music or anything like that. What were some of the first bands that like you kind of got into that maybe morphed your sound now, or even, at the beginning of when you started recording?
Totally. I honestly like in high school I started listening to Radiohead, and it was one of the bands that we were performing like songs of as well. And I really liked Tom York's songwriting and like just the band's performances. And I think they led me down this rabbit hole of like looking into like indie rock and Britpop bands. And then for me, it really became more evident that I was into like rock and pop. When I went to study abroad and I was in London for a year, and I found PJ Harvey and I was like, okay, I'm obsessed with her. I love the way she writes and her raw performances. And from there I went into Blur and into Oasis, and I kind of fell down this rabbit hole of like I want to write songs like this for a while just to see. And that's how my first EP came to be. And like specifically this song Ferris Wheel was written after I was listening to like Dry by PJ Harvey. I was like, I want to do this, I want to make this, but I also really want to write hooks that I could like perform in front of an audience that feel really authentic to me. So that EP was written in that time period, and I think when I first started to see people connecting to it and like people reached out about it, especially because it was like right at the start of the pandemic and like we weren't seeing each other, I realized that like that was the kind of music that I felt could break through to people, and it encouraged me to keep trying. So yeah, I just kind of like have always looked at PJ for inspiration and like Tom York and then Kate Bush, and that year was so formative for me for
Mhm.
sure. Because yeah, before that it wasn't much, especially not at home.
Interesting. Within your, I guess, when you do write, do you ever have like, obviously you take that year into account, but also like, did you begin to like start noticing things in just as the city that you live in? Like you start to kind of maybe go to different, indie venues and start to kind of getting into that music. Like how did that, like the city of New York kind of shape your sound a little bit?
Yeah, I found that like moving to Brooklyn, I moved to Bushwick first. And they're just like if you walk outside of like the L train on off the Jefferson stop, there's already like three venues where a lot of my friends were playing, and also just like you could walk in on any given night and you'd hear like an amazing band, a local band, maybe a band that moved to New York like from another town, so they bring their own sound. And it was this like diversity of sound, just like every neighborhood has a different venue too, where you can kind of explore that. And I didn't really tap into that until I was like 18 or 19, but then it was like relentlessly like just like meeting friends who all brought their own like sound to my life, and also just like feeling so inspired by them. And a similar thing happened when I was in London too, where I would like go to shows. I remember I went to see Catfish and the Bottlemen on my own one year on Halloween in London, and it was like that show was so sick and everyone was so excited, and it was like one of the first performances I saw where I was like, cool, I want to be doing that on a stage. So just experiences like that, I think in New York specifically also were definitely like eye-opening.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I mean, I think Tash and I both wanted to spotlight one of your songs, and we've kind of gotten into your writing process a little bit and just some things that have influenced you. But like, you know, Smokescreen is one of your newer ones that I believe has come out this year, and we kind of both analyzed that one and as like, hey, this is something that we want to, you know, hear about. How did you, you know, start and to finish? Like, you know, how did it come to be? And you know, did that one start from you know, a show you went to, or you know, a specific song you listened to, and you're like, man, I think this is like how I want to write. I want to write a song like this, or you know, where did it come from?
I actually, Smokescreen came to be really like naturally in a way that Ronnie, who produced it, who also produced Shapeshifting, the album that's coming out, but that song is on. We kind of like went to the studio with the goal of writing a song in the vein of Smokescreen, but we didn't know what the song was going to be about or like exactly what the music was going to be as well. And usually like I'll come in with a demo or like an idea and a lyric, but here we kind of like sat together in the room and just thought about it for 10 minutes, and then we were like, okay, we're gonna try, you try writing some music and I'll try writing some lyrics and we'll see what happens. And Ronnie started playing the opening lick, which is where You're an Expectation, Another Night comes in right in the beginning. And I started writing and we immediately were like, okay, let's keep going with this. And the chorus was what took the longest, I think, because the pace shifts so fast. And I hadn't written a song like that since Guilt Trip, like my first EP, where kind of all the songs were explosive and like building. And I realized that like I had to go back into that headspace a little bit and like tap into like a big chorus that's like frustrated and really emotional. And I think it took us a few hours to crack into it, but it was a really special experience because like most of the songs on that record were like demoed over and over and like thought about in a very different way. And I guess like the "and I get in my head" chorus, the big like explosive part, I was listening to Bully a lot. And I had seen her perform live and I loved her performance and her record that came out recently. And I think that was like definitely a big influence on the way that song ended up sounding.
Yeah, I mean, I think like there's so much to kind of unpack with it. Like, so you guys kind of grinded this one out in the studio, it sounds like, and really got to experience it. So when you write songs, you know, like this one where there is a, you know, a fast pace and a big chorus, like what do you do? Like, is that something you think about like the live show as well whenever you're you know, putting those together? You're like, all right, like, hey, maybe we don't, you know, put this in because I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it live, or like what's kind of that thought process as well as you can kind of, you know, play the song live and see.
Totally. I think like actually I've started to think about that more recently because with a lot of the songs I've written in the past, there's been like production layers where I don't know if we could replicate them live with my current setup, but we'll like work around it. And with Smokescreen, I think either intentionally or unintentionally, we were like, let's make a really big live track. Like this'll be really fun to play live. And there's a down chorus that comes around that like is going to unintentionally, at the time we didn't know, be such a big like piece of the live show, I think. At least the way that we're working it for tour. And I just like now think about that stuff much more than when I first started writing. But I think it inevitably becomes a piece of like recording now, where you'll think about like how something can translate live. And I don't always record like as a live band. Like I've done it before, but sometimes you will sit in the studio and like record in layers and overdubs and then later think about it. But I think this song is an example of like it came together in a similar way that it will be like performed.
What does you know, what will a live show look like on, you know, this upcoming tour? You know, how
Totally.
many pieces do you have, you know, and you know, what can we expect from a live show?
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm gonna try to replicate the world of the record a lot, and more so than I have in the past. I think like vocal effects, synth layers, things that I haven't been able to really bring to my show as much in the past are really important to this album and to a lot of these songs. So I really want to bring the energy, and I want people to feel the music in the way that it was meant to be experienced. So that's kind of a big priority for me this time around. And I want songs like Smokescreen to really hit. And I think like part of that for us is going to be with rehearsals, just like figuring out ways to play the songs that maybe don't sound exactly like the record, but will really feel explosive in the room. So that's more so what to expect out of the show this time around.
We talking, we getting some pyro,
Oh, big time.
custom light show. What do
I
we get?
do I do think I'm gonna get a lighting person for my New York show. So that'll be really exciting. I haven't done that before, but yeah, I have a lot of friends who do like graphics in the background of their shows. So I think that's always fun. But yeah, maybe cannons, like if it's in the budget, a cannon and like maybe like one flamethrower that comes, someone brings a flamethrower on stage if we get like a permit for that, but I haven't inquired yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, you'll have to clear that with a few people, but not that many, I think. Like, I mean,
Probably not
I've
that.
seen some more wilder things. So
I'm just
Yeah,
picturing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when he goes off with the
that's
flamethrower.
exactly. I could probably get him to do it too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe like
I think
campfire.
Leo's free.
Yeah, I think that could happen. I also just like there's this, I don't, this is a very specific reference, but this NBA halftime performance that this dog does where he's like balanced, it's like like some kind of like acrobatic dog that shows up to all the halftime shows. Like if you watch an NBA like I guess like a local broadcast, you'll see it. And he's this perfect little chihuahua who can do all these tricks. And I really want to find out who's the like who is this dog and where can I contact them for like one show one day. But I feel like I don't have NBA money, so I won't be able to like he has bigger things. So but that'd be the dream.
Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with asking.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
100%, 100%. You miss 100% of shots you don't take. So,
For sure.
well, I mean, I think like you've got you kind of the plan for the tour coming forward. Any great like, have you done touring in the past? Like, and what are some of the venues that kind of stick out to you, whether they are in New York or if they're, in other places, like where are some of the places that you've, had a good connection and had a great show?
Totally. I toured a bunch last year. I did a February tour up to Canada and I had a really great time. It was so cold. We ended up going to Burlington when there was like a polar vortex. But I really connected to that town and I thought it was really special. So I'm going to shout out Radio Bean because we played there in May. It was maybe below freezing inside, but everyone in there was so warm and so welcoming and like people showed up to the show and everyone was really in such high spirits and I think like they're definitely more used to the weather than we were. Like I was wearing maybe like a hoodie and a scarf on stage because I'm so weak when it comes to cold, but it was such a great show and I really enjoyed the city and I hope to go back. And similarly, I think I'm going to shout out Casa de Popolo in Montreal. That place was so cool and it was one of my favorite shows and a show where I think like community really stuck out to me. Like everyone in Montreal seems to support the arts and just are so stoked about coming out and like seeing bands who tour. And I talked to so many people that night who were so curious about New York and like our project and I really loved it there. And yeah, I think like we went to a couple of venues in the South. We went to South by last year that I really enjoyed. We played at a place in New Orleans that was like a really small bar, but also like a beautiful venue. But I can't remember the name of it, so I'll have to find it. But New Orleans was really fun, and it was a similar thing where I think like people just enjoy life in a really special way, and I had such a good time there as well. But yeah, I'll be touring for 4 dates this time around on the East Coast. So I'm excited to do some East Coast dates again for this album.
I love it. When's the tour start? What's what's kind of the plug and all the, where do we need to go from here? What do we
Oh
got
yeah.
coming up?
So on May 7th, I'll be having my hometown album release show at Baby's All Right in Brooklyn. And that'll kick tour off for the next 3 dates, which will be Washington, D.C. at Pie Shop on the 8th. And then we're doing Boston at the Lily Pad on May 11th, which I'm really excited about. I love Boston and my sister lives there, so it'll be a fun show. And then Philly is going to be the last date. And we're doing Milk Boy, which I actually played last year and had a really great time. And that'll be on the 12th. So it's a pretty short run, but it's going to be a really fun time.
Awesome. Awesome. We got May 7th, May 8th, May 11th, May 12th, and Brooklyn, DC, Boston, Philly, respectively. So exciting little run there. We love that. Well,
Yeah,
of
looking forward.
course, we need you. We need you to come down here to Atlanta. We need to
Oh, I
get
want
get
to
you down
come
to the
so
South.
badly. Yeah. I've actually never been, but I have a really good friend from Atlanta. And shout out my lawyer John, who's also in Atlanta and just has all the best things to say about it. So I really want to come down there.
Yeah, we get you. We'll treat you right down here for sure. So, I think we want to transition over to a little some silliness here. A little Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. We've been grilling her on some serious stuff about live music and the creative process. Let's get into whether she likes cake or pie or not. So here we go. Pete Peterson's party pack of questions, and the first question is cake or pie. Nisa Lamanche,
Oh,
what say you?
it's got to be cake. Um, Sorry, I love pie, but I feel like there's more variety with cakes. Like I haven't I haven't experienced crazy pies yet, but I've had some crazy cakes. So,
All right. We need more crazy pies. All right. Get her on the side. But salad or soup? What are you preferring with your sandwich?
ooh, soup because you have to dip the bread in something. You're not gonna dip the bread in a salad.
True, true. All right. Sunrise or sunset? What are you seeing more of these days?
I wish I could say sunrise. I think I wake up early, but not early enough for sunrise, and I love a good sunset, so it's sunset.
All right. Nothing like a sunset right over that Brooklyn Bridge where you can see it.
Yeah,
Oh man, I tell you what.
exactly.
Home run or a touchdown? What would you rather do?
Home run because I was watching the Super Bowl this year and I couldn't tell you. I was like trying to name the positions on the field and I was trying to guess because I was like, okay, if there's a quarterback, there has to be a halfback, which means there must be a wholeback. And everyone was like, no. So I think it has to be a home run because go Yankees.
All right. Opening day just happened the other day. So she's a Yankees through and through. I like it. Um, Night in or night out? What are you seeing more of and having more of these days?
Night in. I like watching a movie and I'm like I get tired by midnight. Like I went to a couple dinner parties this weekend and it was so hard after like two drinks and the clock hitting midnight. I was like, all right, guys, grandma's gotta go to bed. Like, see you all tomorrow at 8 a.m. So night in currently.
Night in currently. Surprising for a New Yorker, but I
I
respect it.
know.
I respect it.
Someone's gotta do it though.
Yeah. All right, on those nights where you do go out though, and your jam comes on, are you more likely to hit the robot or the worm in the middle of the party?
The robot. I feel like I have a really good robot. Like
Okay.
I've kind of like refined the robot. My sister can do this move, the baby freeze though. I don't know if any of the listeners know it. It's like you're basically like doing like a balance on your head. It's a really cool breakdance move. She learned it when we were like 8 and she can pull it out at any party. So the robot or the baby freeze would be my go-to.
I love it. I love it. All right. What about switching gears here? If you were going to a Tex-Mex restaurant, guac or queso?
Walk.
She's walking around. All right. Waffles or pancakes in the morning time?
Oh my God. It's so my cat is named Waffles. Um, and sometimes we don't get along, so pancakes.
Okay, we're gonna fight with their cat. That's not good.
Depends.
Man. All
Depends
right.
when he's in a mood, because you know how it is with pets. If they're not happy, like no one can be happy, and that's his prerogative. So, and I would never eat my cat, so pancakes.
Good point. Good point.
Got to make sure we know that.
Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Yeah, I think coffee is more important to me than water. Actually, science might disagree, but I think it's true.
Do you have your one spot you go to? My buddy lives in Brooklyn, and he has a specific coffee shop that he will walk 3 blocks to. So is that your
Yes.
same situation?
Absolutely. And I can even tell you the name of it so that you can corroborate with your friend. It's called Sweet Leaf. It's in Greenpoint and in Long Island City as well. But the Sweet Leaf in Greenpoint is the best coffee shop in the world.
All right. Sweet Leaf. Free ad right there. Here we go.
There you go.
Dogs or cats? I think we know the answer to this one.
No, it's actually dogs. I love dogs so much, but I can't have one because I travel and I would feel so bad. And I feel like I want a dog eventually. And the cat is my family cat, to be clear. So I love him very much. But if I could have a dog, it would make me the happiest person.
All right. All right. Likes the dogs. Ninja or a pirate? What are you more like?
I'm like a pirate. This is one of those questions where it's like I wish I could say I was a ninja, but I'm more like a pirate.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Gatorade or Powerade? They don't pay us. We just like to know.
Whoa. It's Gatorade. I play basketball sometimes when it's really nice out, and it's the one time of year where I'm like, guys, I need a Gatorade. Like it's not a choice. I think I'm very dehydrated, and it's just because it feels right.
I got you. I got you. Toast or bagels?
You have to know the answer to this. I'm a New Yorker. It's got to be bagels.
Toast.
Yeah, obviously. It's just a nice,
Cool.
nice avocado spread on toast.
Zero on some
Um,
toast.
chips or pretzels?
Ooh, pretzels. Can the answer be chocolate covered pretzels?
You know what's fun? No one's even said chocolate covered pretzels in this whole entire show, and we've done 90
Wow.
episodes. So, yeah,
Wow.
chocolate
Okay.
covered
Well,
pretzels do slap. I like
okay.
agree with that.
Yes, they are the best thing. Well, something salty or something sweet is like my favorite combination. So I think chocolate covered pretzels. Sorry, I
Uh,
keep changing your question answers and adding details. Like you
no, no, you're
disqualify.
enhancing. You're enhancing. Um, fries or tots?
Ooh. Mm. There aren't that many good tots places. I feel like this is like Atlanta must have like the best tater tots ever, just based on like I feel like the tots are so much better in Atlanta, so I'm gonna go with tots to represent.
All
And I
right,
love
I like it. Atlanta tots. TV show or movie? When you have a long day and you want to unwind, what are you watching?
I'll watch a TV show. I feel like with attention span stuff too, like I love to watch a good movie, but on an unwinding day, like need to binge something like a series.
I love it. I love it. Well, are aliens real?
Yes.
Bigfoot?
Bigfoot is out there. Bigfoot is real.
Okay, aliens and Bigfoot real. What about love at first sight?
Fake. Bigfoot and aliens are real, but love at first sight? Come on.
Okay, all right. And our final question of Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Who are two bands that we may not know that we ought to check out? And we're going to tell them you sent us to them.
Awesome. Check out Mama. They're awesome. They're also based in Brooklyn. And Aaron, who produces and is in the band, used to be my roommate, and he's very talented. So Mama is great and they rock. And another band I would recommend is Blonde Shell. Really, really great. And I think Sabrina's LA based, but they are so good live and she writes such great songs.
All right, we got Mama and Blonde Shell to round out Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Nisi, you crushed it. No
Thank you.
surprises there.
That was a really good round of questions. I feel like I wasn't ready. But I tried my best and you had me thinking.
I'm glad. I'm glad. We'll end this with a piece of admiration. Hey, your competitive spirit, you should continue with that. I'm very, very excited to hear on your follow-up interview with us how the spicy food scale and steps have gone, and whether we've achieved the goal of not getting questioned on the mild or the whatever spice level you were talking about earlier.
Thank you so much. I've had so much fun talking to you guys, and I hope that I can also achieve this spicy goal and that my goals are ultimately bigger than that, but this is my current one, so I will definitely update you guys.
We're excited for that. Well, if you are in the city of Brooklyn on May 7th at Baby's All Right, the album release show will be there. If you are in DC on May 8th, she will be there as well. If you are in Boston on May 11th and Philly on May 12th, check out her tour coming up. Come see her play Smokescreen because it's going to blow you away. And we're so excited for you to be on our show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited to visit Atlanta also at some point, hopefully this year,
Of
and
course.
have some Atlanta tots, but also other things.
Yeah, we'll get you some chicken wings. So we'll indoctrinate you right.
Perfect. That's what I need.
Awesome. Awesome. Take care.
Thank you guys both so much.